The murder is happening in a joint family and there's a lot of complications. 16-year-olds are reading my book, so they can tell me some things which I would not notice. I just thought, let me just challenge myself. Yeah. And I would never go to their social media account and I would never go and post a comment. I'm not as good.
I started reading your books, so I started with 5 Point Someone and then went to One Night at the Call Center. So, these books were mostly very light reads, and they spoke of love stories, spoke of young people, college life. But I think since your last book, you've switched to murder. So why is that shift? What was the reason behind that?
Yeah, several reasons. I think one is I think one should always keep reinventing themselves. My job, what makes my books exciting is that there is something fresh in them. Now I've been around. I'm not that fresh. I'm been there, like you said, 10 years back. You read me in your school. My first book came out in 2004 to now it's like what 16, 17 years. So to keep the audience excited and engaged, you have to keep coming up with new and new things. So one is just that. And secondly, a trend I saw, like I think people are on phones a lot. They're watching a lot of video, and reading is, it takes some concentration. So to make people keep reading the book and not leave it for checking their phone or something, I need to make the story extra gripping. And while a love story, I can make it gripping and interesting. I think uh, it is difficult to it's difficult to keep the people engaged to see that, okay, did the boy get the girl or not. I think it's a lot more easier to do who killed the girl, did the boy kill the girl. And as you can see, the whole nation is in a grip of a real life murder mystery right now, or whatever, with the case that is going on. So you can see I've caught that pulse, right? Because people do get very fascinated.
Was that an easy switch for you?
Easy switch. Well, it was difficult. This is my second murder mystery, one arranged murder. So this one was a little better than the previous one. Girl in 105, I had to do a lot of reading, a lot of research, and I was very nervous. So, that was very difficult for me. But this one is a more challenging book, that Girl in Room 105, because it is the murder is happening in a joint family, and there's a lot of complications in that. So I think it is difficult, and that's also, you can say, is one of the reasons. So the first reason is reinventing myself. The second reason is seeing that people need more and more gripping stories, which crime allows me to do. And third is, yes, challenging myself more, which is what makes it creatively satisfying. Otherwise, I'm just churning out something just like, because it sells. That's a safe zone for me. If I do a two-stage sequel or a 5 Point Someone sequel, those will be safe zone things for me. I just thought, let me just challenge myself. Yeah.
So, was there ever a moment of self-doubt or contemplation that am I doing the right thing?
There is. I mean, I remember the first time I wrote The Girl in 105, last book, I was so nervous because, people are used to something from a Chetan Bhagat book. There'll be a huge romance and there'll be like full, and then suddenly there's murder. And then the murder mysteries are hard because it sounds easy, but it's very difficult to do because everybody who reads the book is not just reading the book. They're trying to solve the case. They're also trying to guess who's the killer. They're also trying to guess what happened. So the level of technique required is very different. The moments have to become right. The clues have to be planted, but they should not be too obvious and it should not be too obscure in the end. So I think getting that balance takes a while. And these have been more challenging books to write than the previous ones, both of them. This One Arranged Murder, especially, very challenging. It'll very simple story when you read it. But if you look at the interconnections in the story, it's just very complicated in terms of planning the whole thing. So every beat needs to be right. Every moment, just like a thriller movie, right? If the moments are not, if the key moments are not right, it will just not work.
Did you grow up reading a lot of murder mysteries, or what were the kind of books that you read as a child?
I used to read like all kinds of books, but not so much murder mysteries then. That's why when I wrote murder mysteries first time, I had to read a lot. I had to go back to Agatha Christie, Hitchcock, all those classics. Um, you know, so so that is, I think, was a lot of learning from when I was growing up. I would read like, yeah, actually the ones we did read were Hardy Boys and famous, what was it, Secret Seven, and I don't know if people even know all that now. Uh, there was a Nancy Drew, a
Yeah.
detective. So those I did, but there's nothing like, there was no good. I couldn't find that many good mystery books written in English. I think by Indian authors at that time, and it's a totally different context. It changes everything when you have a Indian, like like in UK you have these stories where there's a murder at a party and then it's like, did the butler do it? That's the classic murder mystery. But here it's in a Punjabi shadi, and there is a buaji and there's a chachaji and there's an uncle and there's an aunt and grandmother and mother-in-law, Indian style, and then there is a murder. It's a totally different experience reading a book like this. So I felt that is where I can do something. I cannot be Agatha Christie. I'm not as good. I cannot be Arthur Conan Doyle. I can't be Alfred Hitchcock, but I can be Chetan Bhagat and Chetan Bhagat's murder mysteries, which are very Indian. That I'm obviously better equipped to do than them because I know India. So I think I brought that knowledge, learned a bit about how to do murder mysteries, and there you have it, one arranged murder.
You know India and Indian parents a little too much because almost every story has an IIT reference.
Yes.
Is that the same here as well?
Here in this book, there is no IIT reference for once. But yeah, I mean, I obviously went there, and college for me was IIT. It was not just, I don't see IIT as IITs. I see it as my college. So I had my college years there, and yeah, my first book was entirely set there. Um, the only thing is that Keshav, who's the detective, he went to IIT Delhi as well, but that was in Girl 105. In this book, there is no, he doesn't go to college. So yeah.
You went to the IIT 25 years ago.
Yeah, in fact, we had a 25th reunion.
Unlike a lot of other alumni, you interact with IIT students, in person or over social media. So, what are how different or how similar do you think life is in the IITs right now?
I think it's changed a lot from what I was there. And the main difference is technology. Everybody has laptops, everybody has phones. So that changes everything, right? So I think that's the big difference. The connectivity. We didn't have all this. We would go to public calling booths, we couldn't just message people. It was just very different. So I think, but my current stories reflect all that. Like, I mean, this book is full of messages and Instagram and Facebook. We have to embrace the times. But that story, when it was set, 5 Point Someone, is set when I was in college. But today, if I'm writing a story of today, like One Engineering Murder is set in 2019 or 2020, it won't be like this,
Speaking of IITs, recently we were in the middle of this controversy about the entrance examinations because a lot of parents and students did not want the exam in the middle of the pandemic. But a lot of them were like, yeah, I mean, our children have waited for so long. Let them just go and write the exam. So where do you stand in this issue?
I stand, I feel, if you can postpone it, it's better. I just feel like, if this year is gone anyway, and it's going to be bad. And if there is a vaccine coming, a lot of people are saying there's a vaccine, so many vaccines are in trials. So maybe in 3 to 4 months, we'll have a vaccine. And in 6 to 7 months, everybody has it in their arm also. So why not do that? Because it's really difficult for some people. And it's already a very anxiety causing exam. Like you lose 5 marks, you will lose your rank. And in that, in that sense, I feel people will get even more anxiety because of COVID, or like, how do I get to the center? Is the person next to me is coughing? Imagine you're taking an exam, next to you, someone coughs. It's a very normal thing. And you're like, oh my God, am I sitting next to a COVID positive? Am I going to get COVID now? And then,
you obviously are very vocal about almost everything that's happening around. And there are praises, and on the other hand, there's criticism, there's trolling.
Yes,
hate
a lot
messages.
of trolling.
Yeah.
Lots.
How do you deal with all of this? Just tell us, because all of us need that advice.
I mean, it's different. I mean, I have a lot of experience. I have a PhD in getting trolled. So I think I've been getting it for so long. And every time there's a book release, every time I have something successful, the trolling increases. So I don't take it that seriously anymore. But that's because I'm older now. I'm much older. I'm 46. And I think you get maturity. I think when you're young, you are still not sure about yourself. And these things affect you. You feel like, oh my God, do they have a point? Do I suck? Am I really bad? But then you realize, no, I mean, they are the ones who come to your account to say something about you. So, you know, it's okay. I mean, it's fine. It's there. It's more about them, because if I don't like a writer, I will stop reading their book, and I would never go to their social media account, and I would never go and post a comment there. And if you're regularly posting hate comments on me, then there is some connection somewhere. It's just misguided love. Maybe you want a little more attention from me. Maybe I'm disappointing you. Maybe you want me to do better. It's okay. But it doesn't mean that the problem is with me. I think the person trolling, that's the more interesting specimen to study. That if you don't like someone, why would you go to their account and say, I didn't like this and I don't like what you do? Okay, just go to some other writer. There's so many.
Another thing, that people sort of celebrated recently was when you asked Shashi Tharoor to compliment you using a little complicated, uncommon words. So, at the same time, these are words that you don't really get to see a lot in your books, because books are written in a rather much simpler, easier language. People don't really have to refer the dictionary a lot. So was that a conscious decision the first time that you sat down to write a book? Did you ever promise to yourself that, I'm going to make it really easy for my reader?
Yeah, because I write for Indians, and for most Indians, English is a second language, and in many places people don't speak it that fluently. So I have to be sensitive to that. How can you call yourself an Indian writer and not even connect to India? That's not fair. If you're a South Bombay writer or I don't know, Delhi writer, I think that's the thing, right?
A few of your earlier books, you were a character, right? Like in One Night at the Call Center, somebody narrating the story to you.
Yeah. What about that?
Yeah. So, will Chetan Bhagat ever return as a character in another Chetan Bhagat book?
Maybe, yeah, there has been. In Girl in 105, I'm there. In Revolution 2020, I'm there. I try to avoid it, but sometimes I think it helps start the book,
So when you wrote Two States, your children were really young, I believe. And now they are teenagers, I suppose?
They're 16, man. Now they're 16, yes.
Okay, right. So have they read your books that have autobiography?
They just started. In fact, they just started like last year, I think. They started out, and now they read, like they read One Arranged Murder before it came out. I asked them for their views now. It's nice because they're a typical reader, like a 16-year-olds are reading my book. So they can tell me some things which I would not notice, or they'll say, don't do this, do that, this, that. So I do take their views into account, and sometimes I don't, but I kind of know, yeah, okay, where they're coming from, but they have started reading them. They like it. They were quite surprised because for 15 years, they didn't know what their dad actually does. Because I never encouraged them to read till they were 15, my books. I encouraged them to read other books. But then I said, why don't they wanted to read, they read 5 Point Someone first time. And they liked it. And then I gave them the mystery books, but they like the mystery books too. They say, because I think young boys, they like it.
All right, then. Thank you so much for joining us today. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Do feel free to like, share, and subscribe. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.